Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you're not a fan of spine-chilling tales, this might not be the place for you. But for those who thrive on scary stories, you're in for a treat. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join our community and support our channel's journey into the depth of the unknown. With that being said, let's begin. I never expected my first apartment to be anything fancy. As a college student, my budget was tight, so when I found a one-room apartment that was spaciously cheap, I jumped on the opportunity without much thought. It was located in a nondescript building on the outskirts of town, far from the bustling college campus. Little did I know, it would be far from an ordinary apartment. Moving in during the first semester was uneventful. The apartment was small, cramped even, but it was mine. However, as the second semester rolls around, strange things started to happen. It started innocently enough, with faint cries echoing through the walls. At first, I dismissed that as noise coming from the neighbors from upstairs, but as the nights went on, the crying continues, growing louder and more haunting with each passing hour. Curiosity gnawed at me, and one evening I found myself standing outside the neighbor's apartment, hesitating to knock on the door. When it swung open, revealing two young men, my heart sank. If my neighbors were guys, then who is the one that has been crying all those nights? The mystery only deepened when I encountered the police. Returning home late one night, I spotted a figure standing on my balcony. Panic surged through me as I looked closer. I could see that the figure was actually hanging by the neck on my balcony. That's when I had to call the authorities, fearing an intruder. But when they arrived, my apartment was empty, devoid of any signs of a break-in. That weekend, after a grueling shift at work, I found myself once again staring at the balcony, hoping to see nothing so I won't be afraid to enter my own place. But there she was again, the same young lady, her presence sending a cold spike up my back. But this time, her eyes widened, and she stared straight at me with a grin on her face. A grin so creepy that I've never seen it before. She was still hanging by the neck, swinging slowly back and forth, back and forth. Before I could react, fear overwhelmed me, and I fell to the ground. When I regained my consciousness, I knew I had to unreveal the secrets of my apartment. While trembling, I approached my male neighbors, desperate for answers. What they revealed to me was spine-chilling. They spoke of a Laotian college student who once lived in my apartment, a girl who met a tragic end, her life cut short in a horrifying manner. It was a story that was told in a hustle tone, of a girl who took her own life on that very balcony. As the police carried her body away, all they found was the girl. She had hung herself on the balcony. She tied a garden rope to the top of the balcony above her and looped it around her neck, and then she kicked the stool from under her foot and hung until her last breath. But her presence lingered, haunting every subsequent tenant who dared to occupy her place. My neighbors also told me her name, and after talking to them, I decided to go check and see if she has any Facebook or Instagram so I can look more into what happened to this Laotian girl. I checked her Instagram, but nothing came up. So I checked her Facebook, and that's when I found her. The girl I saw with my own eyes hanging on my balcony. I was glad her Facebook wasn't on private. I was able to scan through her posts and pictures. From my investigation of this girl, she probably unalived herself because of a broken heart. From her photos, she was dating or was with a guy. Her post was so sad, talking about loving the wrong person, and she doesn't want to be a homewrecker. I'm guessing the guy she was seeing must have been a married man. After looking through her Facebook, I feel sad for her and for what she has been through for her to take her own life. Now I understood why the rent was so cheap. No one stays longer than 2 months, always fleeing after tenants, and as I packed my bags ready to leave this haunting place, I can't help but wonder if anyone will ever break the cycle or help free her spirit so she can move on. As the hospital janitor, I've seen my fair share of tragedy. I knew what I was getting into when I got this job. I've been working at St. Mary's Hospital for over 5 years now. A lot of things that I've encountered, some are good and some are pretty bad. But as a person of Christ, I try to look at everything in a good way. My coworkers always tell me, "Aren't you scared of working here at night? You should change to the first shift job." But I said to them, nothing bothers me. As long as I have God on my side, I should be fine. At this hospital, I've been everywhere. The first, second, third, fourth, fifth floor, almost in every department. But this one time, I was scheduled to go clean this one hospital wing that has been closed for about a couple months now. No one told me why this part of the hospital was closed. I've been known for it to be closed for a while now. Although my questions weren't answered, I still need to get the job done. As I slowly wheel away my cleaning stuff with me to this abandoned area, the closer I got to this closed-off wing, the noise from the hospital died down. Everything just became more and more quiet. As I walked upon the 2 doors that had been locked, I can feel an eerie sensation behind the door. I then grabbed my rosary and wrapped it around my hand. For some odd reason, all these years of cleaning the hospital, this closed-off area just gives me the creeps. As I looked up above the doors, the sign said, "Intensive Care Unit." It got me pretty curious on why they would shut down this area. As I opened the doors slowly, the air in the closed-off area is very different from anywhere else in the hospital. You can just tell the air difference right when the doors opened. The entrance room was so dark, I had to go find the lights to switch them on. When I walked past the nurse station, I could just tell that nobody has used this for a long time. The desk area was so dusty, I could just run my finger and pick up a lot of dust. When I switched on all the lights, not all the lights came on. It made all the rooms very dim. As I walked slowly to the first patient's room, I opened the curtains. The room was dark. It was so dark and the lights didn't work. So I decided to skip this room and go to the next room in hopes that the lights will work. When I opened the second room, the curtains were blocking my way. As I reached my arm into the room to find the lights to switch on, I felt fingers touching my fingers. It shocked me a little bit, but I didn't think much of it. When I blindly found the lights, I tried switching them on, but they too didn't work. So I just decided to turn on my phone flashlight and work with that. Right when I turned on my flashlight, I pushed the curtains away from me. Something on all fours. It crawled so fast towards me, I didn't have the chance to look away. As I fumbled backwards onto my cleaning cart, everything fell over. I used my flashlight to point to where that thing was. As I shined my light into the dark room, nothing. That thing disappeared. I walked into the room just to double check. And as I shined my flashlight onto the bed, there it was again, laying on the bed. Wearing a hospital gown, laying on the bed with his eyes staring straight at the ceiling. Just like in the movies, I can't believe that I'm actually experiencing this myself. Right when I took my flashlight off of it, that thing growled. It growled as if it was gonna attack me. Panicking, I turned around as quick as I could and darted right out the door. I ran past my cleaning supplies and out the ICU door. I ran as fast as I could to the nearest nurse, asking for help. A grown man like me will never ask for help, but for some reason, this time I knew I needed help. I asked the nurse to take me to a safe place. She guided me to a patient waiting room. She asked me what happened. I explained everything to her, what I saw, what I experienced. My heart was still beating so fast, I was panting frantically. The nurse then went and got a bottle of water. She handed it to me and tried to calm me down. She then explained to me that the abandoned ICU area, it's very haunted. That section of the hospital was so haunted that they had to shut it down and closed it up. She didn't understand why the hospital will make me go clean it. That section of the hospital hasn't been cleaned in many months, and nobody dares to go that way. As she was explaining everything to me, I looked at my hand to see if my rosary was still there. To my surprise, everything was still there except for the cross. The cross must have fell when I stumbled backwards. This encounter has really affected me. It affected me to the point where I would not go back to work. And for anyone who plans to become a janitor at a hospital, I'm warning you, if you feel some type of eerie feeling, just get out of there. Working as a janitor at a Hmong funeral home was never what I envisioned for my life, but I did it to help a cousin out. But faith has a funny way to lead you down an unexpected path, and here I am, sweeping the floors of a place where the departed find their last rest. It was a slow evening, the sky heavy with rain clouds, as mourners gathered to pay their respect to the deceased. The air was thick with grief. The sorrow palpated as the families huddled together, seeking silence. As the funeral procession came to an end, and the last of the guests departed, I find myself alone in the dimly halls of the funeral, just me and the deceased. My only companions is my phone and my broom. While cleaning the room that everybody goes and eats, while lost in my thoughts, lost in the stillness of the night, that's when I heard it, a faint rustling, like the sound of fabric brushing against the cold marble floor. That's when I got curious, and I walked to the room that had the casket. As I slowly peeked into the room, I saw the corpse. He slowly walked out of the casket, with both feet on the ground, the Hmong clothes on his back, the Hmong hat on his head. I saw him walk slowly towards the drums, and that's when he turned. He turns towards the left. That's when I froze. As I slowly walked away, I tripped over my broom. Scared that the corpse probably heard it, I ran and hid under the table. I wanted to scream, to run away from this nightmare, but my feet was rooted to the spot, paralyzed with terror. As I slowed down my breathing, I saw that the corpse was coming towards me, his feet slowly shuffling. I can see his feet shuffling towards my broom. As scared as I was, all I did was just cover my face and in hopes that he doesn't see me. Slowly peeking just in case he came my way, I saw the corpse slowly bend down and grabbed my broom. He then slowly leaned it onto the wall. After he did that, I saw his feet slowly shuffling back towards the casket. Once he was out of my sight, I grabbed hold of myself and ran towards the front of the building and out the door. The next morning, the owner of the funeral called me. He said how come I didn't clean everything. I told him what happened. He laughed. He said, do I still believe stories like this? Things like this don't happen anymore. We are now living in the 21st century. I giggled back and said to him, if you don't believe me, you can check the bottom of the deceased's shoes. If you find dust down there, you will know that I was not lying. I told the owner, or my cousin, that I was not going back to do that job. And in all seriousness, it should be him who should hukupli, especially with what happened last night. Weeks later, my cousin called me up, and he informed me that I was not lying. After we got off the phone, he actually went and looked at the shoes of the deceased, and there it was, dust, just like what I said. I dare not to step foot in that place anymore. I don't even go to funeral homes unless the deceased person is a very close relative of mine.